What's up, Instagram and YouTube? Chris here with Forge Through Faith, and I'm coming to you with today's Mindset Monday, and today's Mindset Monday is on commitment, okay? So, quick heads up, this is gonna be a little bit of a longer video. I was listening to a podcast on the way into work today, and it was something that came up in the podcast on commitment, specifically marriage, and it got me really fired up and to talk about commitment in general, okay? So, just some kind of things I'm gonna go over is how it applies to your goals within training and how it applies to your life. So really, guys, one of the things I really feel is important is commitment is a choice. So for folks who are super successful in whatever they do, they have made the commitment, they have made the choice that they are gonna stay true to the goals that they have in mind, okay? Where that starts, guys, is counting the cost. My wrestling coach in college used to always say, guys, count the cost on what it takes to achieve your goals. So for some folks, whether that's as something as big as going to the CrossFit Games, or losing those last 10 pounds, or finishing a project at work, seeing that through to the finish, whatever it is, you have to count the cost before you get started. And there's no harm in saying, I'll use the games just as an example because that's a pretty easy one. Looking at it and said, man, I would really like to do this, but I really don't want to put in the level of work it's going to take to get there. That's okay. Now we can reformat, find a new goal that when you look at counting the cost and the work that's going to go in, it's like, okay, I can put that work in. That's a goal I can shoot to achieve for. And then making the commitment to doing that work to achieve that goal, okay? So finding what that is, knowing what that is, and finding a goal that's true to what you want to accomplish is step one. And then once you do that, I should say, staying true to that and not deviating from that course, staying committed to what that course is what the difference is between people who are successful in achieving their goals and people who are not successful in achieving those goals, okay? So how does that apply to your everyday life? How does that apply to what we're doing here? So nutrition, okay? Not everyone, when it comes to nutrition, has these grandiose goals of being a figure competitor, right? And that's okay. You should enjoy your life. I'm not saying you have to, on Christmas, because Christmas is coming up, the holidays are around the corner. We just had Thanksgiving. I'm not saying don't enjoy yourself. I enjoyed myself on those holidays. But you have to know what your goals are, where they're oriented. So if you're someone whose goal is to stand on stage and be a figure competitor, you can't deviate from your nutrition protocol, period. So you have to be fully committed, 100% all in on hitting your macros, on timing your nutrients appropriately all the time if you want to do that. Now, take someone else. Maybe you're a stay-at-home mom with 2 kids who wants to lose those last 20 pounds. There's a little more deviation there, and it allows you the ability to enjoy those holidays, let's say, or enjoy a night out with friends, but you still have to be committed to those nutrition goals, to what you're doing on a daily basis at least 80% of the time, okay? For folks who are like, man, I just, I let life get away and I get in the way or fallen off the wagon, you could always get back on. I always encourage people to get back on, but the difference between the people who in that same stage of life or in those same circumstances that are successful in losing those 20 pounds and are not successful, the difference is the level of commitment that the folks that hit those goals don't let life get in the way. They circumvent, the situations are similar, right? But they've planned how to achieve those goals. They've planned how to get their nutrition in appropriately. They've planned that if they fall off the wagon, they're gonna get right back on it the next day. They've planned that all out and they've made it a priority and they've stayed true to that commitment, so they've hit those goals. See what I'm saying, guys? That's huge, and that's why I'm so friggin' fired up right now, is because that is an attribute I feel in our society right now that is extremely lacking. A strong wind could blow and people change course on what they want to do. All right. How does that apply to your training? The number of times I've seen people with a goal within training, whether it's to hit a new PR or to compete at a competition or whatever the case may be, and yet every 3 to 6 weeks you see them doing a different program. You know, I'm programming for myself. Oh, I'm gonna do main site this week. Oh, I'm gonna do CompTrain this week. Oh, I'm gonna do Invictus programming this week. Guys, a program is a long-term plan to get you to a certain goal, okay? Using us as an example, I sit with you guys, I figure out what you want to accomplish, and I create a roadmap on how to get there, and depending on the goal, determines how long that's gonna take. Now, there's nothing wrong with changing or reshaping what your goals are, you know, going back to counting the cost, but to achieve a goal worth sinking your teeth into, you have to put in at least 3 months of solid training on a steady progression, on a steady program to see any results. And the longer you've been training, the longer you've been competitive, the longer you have to stick to a program to see results. Okay, so the folks you see that are constantly program hopping, and then you wonder, they wonder why they've stagnated in their progress, it's because they have not stayed committed, they have not stayed true to a coach or a program to see the results down the line, okay? Is that an easy thing to do? No, it's not, because you're rolling the dice on whether it's gonna work out or not. However, if you're bouncing around, you're stacking the deck on it not working out, period. Okay, so staying committed to that progress and to the plan is humongous, okay? I've said this in other videos before, things that go into the gym, into your nutrition, apply to your everyday life as well. And what sparked this whole rant, I guess, is I was listening to a podcast and marriage came up, and the guy was talking about how he didn't believe in marriage, and that's something he's changed his mind on, and he's married now with a kid of his own. But he said the reason why I didn't believe in it, or why I thought it was fake or a sham, was because of, you know, the divorce rate, the number of people he found cheating on their spouse, or whatever the case may be. Guys, that's a lack of commitment. Okay, the trick with commitment, guys, is when things are tough, you stay true, you grind through it, you get tough in that. And when things are going good, you continue to attack that to gain ground. So when things are tough, you have this foundation to build off of, okay? And marriage is no different. You know, I've been married to my wife for 5 years. That's not a really long time in the grand scheme of things, but we've already been through a lot, okay? Within the last year, I lost my job, the previous year, 2016 into 2017, I lost my job. My wife got pregnant. We lost that baby. We had a massive flood in the house that forced us to live with my parents for six weeks while they totally ripped up and gutted our downstairs in our house. We had to sell our house because promises that were made to me in my one job never really came through. It didn't make quite the money we needed. We had to move out of our house, move in with my parents. We saw a lot, and that would have been easy for two people who are not totally 100% committed to each other. It would have been enough for some folks to fall apart, but because my wife and I have made this commitment and we take it very, very seriously, we stepped in under God and said, we're gonna glorify God through our relationship and through what we do. We were able to stick it through, and we're not unique in that, okay? There are plenty of people who do that on a daily basis, go through tough times together when it comes to marriage. But that's the key, guys, is when things are not going well, you buckle down and push through it to make sure it gets done. And then when things are going well, like my wife and I were in a good spot, and yet we saw a marriage counselor to help iron out some issues, that's saying, okay, things are good. There's not huge problems, but we want to make sure it stays that way and improve our communication, because at the end of the day, a lot of times when things fall apart, it's because two people are not communicating effectively. Okay, so that's commitment. That is sticking through the tough times and pushing through the good times to keep that ball rolling. Okay, so it's with marriage, it's with maybe friendship relationships. It's something that I truly believe in our culture is dying out. It could even be something as like getting out of debt. You know, how many people, I was a college student, how many people graduate college with a crap ton of debt? And it's really easy to just stay in debt for the rest of your life, paying off minimum payments, you know, struggling to get by, instead of making the commitment and being diligent and disciplined to say, okay, I don't need to buy this. I don't need to go out tonight. And creating that goal so that 10 years down the line, you're out of debt. And now you're just making money and you could do with that with what you please, okay? So in terms of a Christian principle, it's stuff within the Bible, and like I said, I referenced it in marriage as well, where commitment is paramount and staying true to what you do and fighting through the tough times is super important. For you guys, finding what allows you to do that or what's gonna help support you through that, because life isn't easy, guys, is gonna be super important. For me and my wife, it's the fact that our Lord Jesus Christ died on the cross for the forgiveness of our sins, and we can turn to Him and use that as a boost and as a bedrock or a crutch to help get us through those tough times, to limp through those tough times. For you guys, I don't know what that's gonna be. It might be the same thing as us, it might not be, but whatever it is, I encourage you to find that, because that skill of being committed to a goal or to a person is something that's really rare right now. And when you're able to find that, the level of fulfillment and happiness you'll feel through that is through the roof, okay, guys? So I know it was a little bit of a long one. I apologize for that up front, but I appreciate you listening to this, and I encourage you through your fitness and through your life going forward, stay committed to those goals, see those through, and reap the benefits on the other side. Thanks, guys.